And now we're going to turn to the race for mayor of New York City. I know we're a year off, but people are already lining up. And one of the names that's been bandied about as a challenger to the New York City mayor is borough president of the Bronx, Ruben Diaz Jr., who, if elected, he would be the city's first Latino mayor. Now, even if he doesn't run, Diaz is nonetheless critical of de Blasio, while at the same time has a strong relationship with Governor Andrew Cuomo, who we all know is not exactly best friends with the sitting mayor. Well, Diaz sat down with her own Dominic Carter, and Dom, it was an interesting conversation, wasn't it?
Yes, Diaz seemed to say he's leaving his options open, Richard, but at the same time, he seems to be saying that he's going to wait until 4 years from now when de Blasio, no matter what happens, is gone and it's an open seat. Everyone around New York City knows that the contest for mayor is open and competitive. Thank you for having us, Mr. Borough President.
Well, thank you. It's been a long time. You've been a great friend. It's good to welcome you, Dominic, right here to Borough Hall. So it's always a pleasure seeing you.
Well, as you know, Mr. Borough President, this is a homecoming for me. Earlier today, passed by the Botanical Gardens, the Bronx Zoo. The Bronx seems to be doing very, very well. Now, that has led many in the political world to question if you, sir, will actually run for mayor next year against Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Oh, boy. Well, look, it's flattering, and I think it's indicative and symbolic of the fact that the work that we've been doing here, at least since I've been the borough president, is getting the recognition that it deserves. What do I mean by that? In the last 7.5 years, over $10 billion of private investment. In the last 7.5 years, 54 million square feet of economic development. We've cut unemployment by about half, from 14% to about 7%. Almost 100,000 more Bronxites are working than the first day that I took office. Crime is down. The Bronx is the safest that it's been in 50 years. Tourism is up 14%. And there's so many different projects, major projects like 4 Metro North stations, revamping and repairing our waterfront and our parks. We've seen our parks repaired to the tune of $350 million in the last 8 years alone. So it feels good that people are starting to recognize that. With regards to whether or not I'm going to run next year, the reality is that if the Bronx would have me, I could have one more term as the borough president to finish off some of the things that we've started. That's always been my trajectory. However, you never know in the city of New York. You can never say never. You never know what turns the political climate. And if there's an opportunity that presents itself for next year, then I have to tell you that I would be lying to you if I would tell you that I would not seriously consider it.
Do you see yourself one day down the road being the mayor of New York City?
I think that one day down the road, if the people of the city of New York looked at the accomplishments that we've done in one, if not the most challenging part of New York, and have given me the opportunity, I would love to serve in another capacity, in a higher capacity, to be able to work for even more New Yorkers. And so only time will tell, and we'll see.
Mr. Borough President, you have been very critical of de Blasio on some past issues. For example, in the South Bronx, the Legionnaire disease fatal situation that occurred here in your borough.
Look, I give credit to the mayor where it's due. When you look at things like universal pre-K, the fact that he did an executive order to augment the living wage whenever a developer has received city funds and benefits. This is a fight that we started with the Kingsbridge Armory. So there are things that he's done well, but look, when you look at the Legionnaires, we lost, what, 12, 13 lives in the span of 2.5 weeks. Over 120 people sick. I thought that the response by City Hall and the city was terrible. You know, we lost more people as a result of sickness from Legionnaires in 2.5 weeks than we did from violence in that whole summer here in the Bronx. And I'm talking about the entire Bronx in terms of violence, and in this case, Legionnaires in just one area of the Bronx. And so we gave the city the benefit of the doubt the first couple of days. But once I saw that there were conversations being had by the Department of Health with the CDC, the federal government, where they were offering assistance and that assistance was not taken while Bronxites were dying, I thought that it was unacceptable. And it would have been irresponsible of me as the borough president if I did not reach out to the governor and the federal government immediately so that all boots would be on the ground, all hands on deck. And it was not only till then that we saw the situation start to remedy itself. So since then, I would love to tell you and your viewers that I've had a better relationship with City Hall. That is just not the case.
Still today.
Still today. But
at the same time, Mr. Borough President, that you're criticizing de Blasio, you and Governor Cuomo are boys with each other.
I respect Governor Cuomo for his leadership in Albany. I respect him even more because I've been now elected 20 years. You and I know each other for a very long time. When I had hair, you still have your hair, I don't. Throughout my 20 years in elective office, whether you had Democrats or Republicans up in Albany as governor, Democrats or Republican in City Hall, the Bronx was always neglected. And so now we have Governor Andrew Cuomo, who has been able to come to us with an entire unit from the Department of Labor that's stationed and working with the Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation. That's the reason why you see the reduction in unemployment. You see the investment on the 4 Metro North stations, over $1 billion. The amount of money that's been allocated by HCR, the state housing agency, working with the city so that we can have 24,000 units of housing in the last 8 years. The commitment on the infrastructure of our borough with State Department of Transportation on our highways, cleaning up our highways, things like film tax credit to enable for Silver Cup Studios to come to the Bronx. When somebody does that, you have to respect that, you have to admire that. You have to be honest and giving credit where credit is due. And if it just so happens that the governor and I are boys, then if that's the way you want to label it, then yes, the governor's my boy.
Richard, up next, when Hillary Clinton came to town, she rode the number 4 train with Diaz. We will talk the presidential race with him.